And it's probably something that you take with your own family. You got kids of your own, do you not?
I do. I got 2 little girls.
Yeah, beautiful. And obviously a beautiful wife. And what's the
Yep.
story? How did you meet your wife?
We met through mutual friends back in high school. We went to different high schools, didn't know each other existed. Um, Went out one Friday night with a bunch of my friends and my buddy who brought his cousin who was dating this girl who we wanted to bring along, and she didn't want to be the only girl, so she brought her friend, and her friend was kind of a snob, didn't want to leave the car and didn't really have any interest in being there. And I just had, we all were like, who are these stuck-up girls? And sure enough, ended up coming out of the truck to have dinner with us and sat next to each other. And that fateful night, stars aligned, and here we are.
Yeah.
Almost 20 years later.
Wow. Did you know right away? I mean, not that there was an attraction there.
There was an attraction. We kind of sat next to each other at the restaurant, and the restaurant had this big like paper drawing like placemat, and we ended up not talking to each other but writing to each other back and forth. So it was like that romantic comedy.
Wow.
Yeah, we just ended up shooting the breeze, and she's a year older than me, so she found out I was younger, and she's like, "No, I can't. Younger guy." This is after we'd already exchanged numbers. She's like, "No, I can't date a younger guy. Come on."
I mean, what are the odds, though? I mean, you guys sit next to each other. You could have sat next to anybody else. And
I will let the record show that I was the first one to sit down. So.
I got her.
Exactly. I don't let it. There's not a day that goes by that I don't remind her of that.
Nice.
Yeah, no, we exchanged information. We went on a few dates, and there was chemistry. And I can't say that I knew that I was going to marry her, but I knew that she was something special, and that it was not something that I was going to take lightly. And within a week, I was like, yeah, like talking to her every night and getting to know her. I was like, yeah, there's something special here. I mean, we were 17, 18.
Yeah. Wow.
We were young, and it was, I think for her, she'll tell you she knew I was the one when not even a year into the relationship, I'd met her mother, and we were in her kitchen, and her mother goes to me, she's like, "You guys are so young. What are you doing? Like, go play the field. You guys need to experience life."
All right.
I was like, why do I need to experience anything if the one that I want is right here? And I don't know if that was just me trying to be suave or me speaking from the heart, but the family's loved me ever since, and we've been almost inseparable ever since.
Beautiful story, man. And you got two beautiful kids out of it.
We do.
Yeah, and you take the lessons that your dad and mom showed you, and how's parenthood been?
It's been good. I mean, bless my kids. I got a 6-year-old and 6-year-old daughter, and a daughter will be 3 in a couple of months. And it's cool. Like, it's challenging. There's no easy way around it. It is definitely challenging, but at the same time, incredibly rewarding to see the growth, and having a daughter in grade 1 now, and watching that path of development, and seeing all the lessons that your parents tried to instill in you and that you just laughed off as a kid, trying to instill them now, and like giving your kid crap for something that you did a million times, and then just sounding like your parent, and you're just like, oh, I can't believe I'm that guy.
Well, then it's like, then you start to feel bad. It's like, man, I could have probably listened to them a little bit better, and
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think that happens to everybody as we get older. And then I haven't had kids, but I would assume that magnifies once you get your own kids. It's like, oh man, I should have done things differently.
Yeah, sometimes yes. And then I've got my parents sometimes like that have now become grandparents for the first time. They're like, you're too hard on them. You're too regimented. Like, we have my kids in bed 7:30 every night, unless we're out or we've got company. It's like, no, 7:30 they go to bed. This is the routine. Like, they're up at 7:30, and my wife and I have our time to connect.
Yeah.
My parents had a bedtime set for me until I was in high school, and It's like, what do you mean I'm too hard on them?
Right.
This is exactly what you did to us, except we maybe just did it a little bit better.
Right. I got it. Yeah. And that could only be their hope.
Right?
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to, move into the Twitch channel. So you decided to start
Yeah.
streaming, and of course you got the wife's full backing to do that, obviously, or you wouldn't be here doing it. But what made you get into streaming? And I also wanted you to touch on, well, we should probably touch on this first. What brought about DadBodsUnited, the name, and then what made you take that leap into streaming?
The DadBodsUnited. So the United part was the easy part because I'm a huge European football fan, and a lot of big teams end up with the word United at the end. Or
Yeah.
slogans have it. So I was like, okay, the United part was a no brainer. My original gamer tag was like the name of my first dog, the number 69 because I made it when I was like 13, and like GC, which is like an acronym of my first name, which I've gone by. And I was like, as appealing and as adorable as that is, like you kind of grow out of it after a while.
Right.
So when I had kids, I'm one of the few gamers that are still left in my social group. So we, you get on each other about having kids and getting a little soft around the waist, and you grow the stereotypical dad bod, even though you say you're never going to, and you're going to be in good shape for the rest of your life. I ended up going from getting married in good shape to slowly devolving into pear shape, and I was like, well, the dad bod is a thing, and I might as well embrace it. So slowly started converting my gamer tags into dad bods, and added the United as just a way to, honestly, was just to kind of stave off some sort of like discrimination or anything. I was like, listen, we're all in this together. If you got kids or you don't have kids, or you're over the age of 30 and you're still gaming, whether you're a dad or not, we're all united. Like,
right.
So my slogan on the channel is where Dad Bods United. Where all bods are good bods and all bods are welcome bods.
I love it.
We all come together.
I'm just starting to think, I don't think I spelled it right on the Twitch channel, right? Isn't it UINTD? Is it actually spelled out United on your Twitch?
No, it's United.
Oh, okay. Maybe there's something you don't have the E in there, I think, or something. Maybe your E.
Some of my socials, go figure, like Dad Bods United is actually taken. So
Right.
it's UNTD, which is the short form for
Right,
United.
right.
But I'm like, who the hell thought of this before me? I thought I was big brain on this one. But,
Right. So you get the name, now your Dad Bods, just in your gamer tag, and then now you bring it over to Twitch, a natural progression. You were just Dad Bod. You brought United on when you came onto Twitch.
No, I was Dad Bods United even in Mixer as well.
Oh, okay.
So when I switched over that gamer tag when I was just married, before I even thought about the idea of streaming. Like, the idea of streaming is completely new.
Mm-hmm.
I only started streaming mid October of last year, so almost coming up on a year.
Wow. Okay. And and what made you jump to Mixer first over Twitch?
So for me, streaming was always one of those things. I was like, I am not that guy. Like, there's no way. I'm not funny, or I'm not personable. I'm pretty cold. I'm a little witty, but sarcastic and evil. I'd never make it. So I'd never really considered streaming, but I was hanging out in a couple of Mixer streams because I'd kind of fallen out of love with Twitch. I'd only ever watched big streamers on Twitch. Mostly around the FIFA community, like the Castros, Nick 2018, Bateson, Nepenthes, and then got into some of like the Docs and some of the bigger guys, and seen just how toxic it can be in a lot of those larger channels, and never really took the time or consideration to funnel into either the suggested streams or even the lower, like the smaller channels. The 100, 200, 300 viewer channels I was always interested in, but never really paid much attention and gave much time, because Twitch was always a thing for me, just like a background noise when I was working, or something I had on as like an afterthought.
Yeah.
And watching some of those chats and being involved in some of those communities, I was like, man, I would never, if like people treat these streamers like that, imagine what they would do to that guy with like 5 viewers.
Mm.
Like, I don't ever want to get involved in that.
Hmm.
And through my Xbox and through my general curiosity about streaming, I've stumbled across Mixer, and I was like, wow, let's check this out. So for a good 5 or 6 months, I started watching Mixer streams and getting to know Mixer communities, and I ventured into a streamer's chat by the name of Miranda Pings, and she is like, dude, with a name like that, how are you not a streamer?
Hmm.
I was like, I don't know.
I don't know.
That night, I remember going to bed, and that's all I could think about. It's like, maybe I could get into this. Maybe I could do this thing.
Nice.
And that was the inception, the seed that planted that I was like, oh, I wonder. And that took me down the path of researching computers and PCs and how to stream and what I needed and how to do it. And that led me into the conversation with my wife on like, would this be a viable option? Because at the time I was looking into, maybe getting a part-time job to support, give the family a little bit of extra support. But with a newborn, it was a challenge.
Yeah, you got to be home, and this provided an option to say, hey, maybe. I mean, not that you're in this for the money or anything, because like you said, you do this mainly for a hobby. But who knows? On top of you enjoy FIFA's pretty much your main game, as we touched on earlier. Right now, you branch off, you do MLB. I've seen you play all kinds of games, so it's not. But I mean, I guess you would consider yourself variety at this point.
I would prefer to consider myself variety because I'll touch on like single player experiences. I like a lot of the retro indies, but like we touched on earlier, with the way a lot of these sports games are built to drive you through basically their entire life cycle, it's hard to tear away while the game is at its peak, right?
Yeah.
So I would imagine, similar to a lot of the MLB streamers, and I mean, I haven't watched you for that long because I've only watched you really since I got in, but that would be something I'd be curious to know what you get into too is, when that cycle, do you take MLB from launch to end to launch? Like, do you go launch to launch?
I did last year. Well, I mean, I guess I am this year too. I did last year. But my passion for it last year was much greater than it is this year. This year, I've noticed the grind more. Whereas last year I was kind of getting my feet wet as far as, meeting the community and that thing. And now I'm noticing the grind of the game more. And so it's changed it a little bit for me. To answer your question, I go cycle to cycle. But I found myself like last year, I didn't play any other games at all. This year I'm mixing in, the once a week I do this, I'll mix in the golf. I'll switch to Warzone at the end. So I find that burnout coming. So, I mean, I would suggest be careful of that. Not to you, but just to anybody starting out streaming. Be careful of burnout on a game because it will start to show. It will start. At least in my experiences, it has started to show. So it's good that you bounce around. And I think we've actually had this conversation to where, variety is not impossible. It's just a little bit of a longer grind.
It is, and I think if you set the tone or the expectation with your community, you can definitely succeed. Like for me, for FIFA, for example, in FIFA 19, I played over 3,000 matches.
Wow.
Grinding out that game. But I noticed the burnout in FIFA 20, where I finished FIFA 19 in August, and September 25th was the launch of the next FIFA 20, and where I started my journey a couple months into it with streaming. But by like January, February, I had played only about 1,000 games, and I was done. Like I was actively looking for other things to play.
Yeah.
The hardest thing as a content creator, though, is you take a hit, because there are still fans of FIFA that I see that are only watching FIFA content.
Yeah.
And that's cool because that's exactly what they want to consume. But as a content creator, it kind of hurts when
Yeah.
you see that number drop off, when your average viewership is like 9 or 10 or 20 or 30, and all of a sudden it's like 12 or 15 or
Yeah.
10 or 11, and you're playing a game that you're passionate about, but the community that you've built around you may not share that same passion.
Right.
And I like to use my Discord or my socials for it and set the tone early of, hey guys, this is what I'm going to be playing tonight. Hopefully you'll be out there. Hopefully you'll be supporting. But if you're not, it's cool. It's not your type of game. Totally get it. But again, it depends on, if your community is there for you or if they're there for just the game specifically. And that really comes down to, what that viewer prefers to connect with.
Sure.
I mean, I've been around your community now for a while that you could tell that a lot, doesn't matter what you're playing, you've got a good group of core community members that are there for you and to share their experiences with you. And same thing, I've got a handful of incredible community members that are there and don't care what I'm playing.
Yeah.
Just come out, enjoy the banter, will jump in the odd game with me here and there and, have a good time. But it is definitely a wake-up call when you step out of your comfort zone of your quote-unquote main game and watch that number sometimes plummet because people just want to see a certain thing. And that's cool.
It is. And that's how communities are built. I mean, that's why the MLB community is so strong, because it has just such a massive group of people that just kind of stay in that community, and they bounce from stream to stream to stream, and viewer and streamer alike, supporting each other. So it's cool to have people move around with you. But again, the variety route, it takes some time. You spend a little bit more time in another community, and then you build from there. And then next thing you know, you got 48,000 people in the arena, as Doc would say.
Wouldn't that be a sight?
Dude, could you imagine?
Holy crap. But I've got the nerves now because I've never, the Twitch community doesn't know me as a FIFA streamer.
Right.
It pretty much knows me as an MLB or variety.
Sure.
So I've got the nerves too of, moving into FIFA right now where, how much of the work that I've done to this point, building back up is going to be another setback while I move into more FIFA and even less of the show that I'm moving into now. I was having a blast playing ranked seasons these last couple months. But my own brain, I won't allow myself to play any more ranked seasons. I've got a 10-0 record, and I don't want to ruin it.
Oh, dude, just go out on a high note. Just don't play another game. Right? Just leave it.
I load up MLB, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to play it tonight. And then I look at that record. I'm like, I'm not going to play it. Let's work on Babe.
Yeah, smart.
But, it's tough. It is tough. And one of the things I've done to adapt is I'm now taking some of my MLB viewers that have been interested in what FIFA's all about. And I spent my last 2 streams going over how FIFA differs from the show and how good the show community has it in terms of access to cards and, overpowered cards and meta cards, and actually taking players through if they wanted to start on FIFA, what it would look like, and building introductory teams and finding ways to adapt my content to the evolving community.
Yeah, that's smart. I mean, adapting to the people around you, that's a smart move. I wanted to talk a little bit about your foundation and your charity. I know you banged off an amazing charity stream. What was it, last week or the week before? Towards the Cancer Society of Canada, right?
Canadian Cancer Society. Yeah.
Okay, Canadian. I always say it wrong. I try to get it right, but yeah, talk a little bit about that and your passion for that and maybe your reason behind that.
Yeah, for sure. So the idea of a charity stream was always something that I wanted to do. On Mixer, I got involved with a solid group of people that ran an incredible stream team that were all about finding ways to give back and use their voice and platform as a positive, give it a positive experience. The way I see it, I've got this platform. I have these people that are willing to put up with me, but also listen to what I have to say. So if I can turn that into a positive message and benefit, people outside of just my immediate community, that was always something that made me excited.
Mm.
So the idea of a charity stream had always been something in the back of my mind. I didn't expect it to hit home as hard as it did, and find something to be as incredibly passionate as I have been about it. But being diagnosed with thyroid cancer late last year, early this year, kind of really drove that idea home for me, and kind of lit a fire under my ass to say, okay, well, I'm gonna try to get as much of my health in order as I can, but I definitely now have a reason to make this platform bigger than just me and the idea of making a couple bucks or putting on a show or playing a game. Like, I want this to be about something, and it the diagnosis for me just drove that home and kind of pushed me to decide and say, yeah, look, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna do something. I want to find an organization that I can trust, and I did. I located the Canadian Cancer Society, which is basically an all-encompassing organization that provides funds for various research and studies in just about every and any type of cancer there is. This was like literally when you sign up they call us a cancer fighter. Anybody can sign up to raise money for any cancer cause that's being researched or fought in Canada. So you get to like a long list of all the various types of cancers, and holy crap, I had no idea there were that many variations of cancer and types, and I guess that makes sense with all the body parts. But so I landed on endocrine cancer, which my thyroid cancer falls under, and I decided that we were going to do a 12-hour cancer charity stream for the Canadian Cancer Society, raising money for endocrine cancer.
Mm-hmm. And what
during Thyroid Cancer Month, which is September.
Right, and you set a goal of 500 out of the gate, right?
$1,000.
Oh, $1,000.
We set a goal of $1,000 out of the gate, and leading up to the stream, we started selling these shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Basically about 6 weeks before the charity stream, and we'd sold a couple, and I was expecting to just sell a couple to friends and family, but we'd sold like 20-30 shirts, and my wife's like, leading up to the stream, is like, maybe we should do like $500, and maybe $1,000 is a lot, because realistically, I mean, the pandemic and job securities and everything else. And I was like, you know what? Let's leave it at 1,000. If we hit it, we hit it. If we don't, we don't. And I was like, just the idea of being able to give back, I was excited about, and do something cool and use this community and this platform for something positive. I was over the moon. I was like, whatever we do, we do. If we don't hit it, we don't hit it. It'll just give us something to be excited for next year, right?
Right.
So I'm like, let's leave it at 1,000 and we'll see where we go. And man, oh man, the community blew my socks off.
Yeah. What was the final tally?
The tally as it stands right now is $2,700.
Holy.
That's how we ended. We ended the night on 2,600. I had a late dono come in the next night. And the way the Canadian Cancer Society works is with their page, they close it off at the end of the year unless you write them and specifically ask them to do it. So I've left that dono page open, and I've got a message in my bio that if because we ended off the stream on a goal of 3,000, like if we can hit it by the end of the year, cool. I've left it open there, and if we don't, we don't. But we far exceeded anything I could have ever imagined.
And that's got to feel good. So that's got to feel good to present them with that, especially, your goal is 1,000, you almost triple it. And that's got to feel good. So let's talk about your story as far as your diagnosis and whatnot. And you're still fighting as we speak.
Yep.
And so how did it come about? It was just by chance, didn't it? I mean, you just kind of had a hunch that maybe I should get checked out.
Yeah, it was the most serendipitous moment I could have ever imagined. I mean, I was